And now we're going to maybe bring it back to something that it just seemed to be a consistent theme yesterday, which was if you don't stand for anything, if you don't have values in your company, you're going to become an irrelevant brand very soon. Ronnie saw this coming a few years ago, and he said, it's really hard to give back. What can we do to change that? He created a B corporation. That means that it's a company dedicated to doing good in the ecosystem. And you will see why, because he has a list of literally every nonprofit in the United States. And you can set up a system in which you and your customer can give back to a nonprofit of your choice or their choice. All super easy. He sets everything up for you. There's like tax requirements and logistical components. Sometimes there's refunds and all these things you got to handle. And he's going to show you the value of cause marketing, why it can actually generate revenue, not even cost you anything, and the importance of it. And then a little bit about the tool. Ronnie, I think that maybe I don't want to give the whole session away, but I'll let you take it from there.
Cool. I'm just setting up. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hear you
cool.
good.
I am just organizing my screen here. It's a little, you know what? Give me just 1 second. I'm going to switch which screen I'm using to present. So just hold up. Thank you very much.
How many screens you got?
19. No,
oh,
I'm a trader, high velocity trader here. Give me a second.
Yeah. I played high stakes poker. I had 4 30-inch monitors, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. So yeah, it was a lot. Now I just have one 36-inch curved LCD, and I love it.
Those tend to mess up, for me at least, when I'm trying to view things and trying to understand what a normal user experience is. I can't get the normal user experience when I'm using that large of a view, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, it messes some things up like that. But yeah, if I were to share my screen with everybody, you'd have to start scrolling to see it. But right. Other than that, it works out okay.
Well, I'm going to give everybody whiplash here, Derek, because while Nick's presentation was fantastic and I love the technical content of it, we're going to take you to the complete other side of the spectrum here and talk about doing good and growing your business. It's a very different topic than what we're just coming off of. So, but Nick's last statement I thought was interesting about the speed. And of course, many of us on these conversations today are talking about applications and integrations here. And when you think about essentials of apps that don't slow down your site, that load asynchronously, that add minimal code, and that do good, we're talking about that today with Shopping Gifts. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right.
Looks great.
You got me? Great. So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. It's morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Ronnie Sage. I am the founder and CEO at Shopping Gives. Today, we're going to be talking about building 3 holiday social impact strategies for maximizing customer engagement. Our belief at Shopping Gives is that giving back should be good for your bottom line, and that, you know, the idea coming from brand side and working at agency, understanding and having empathy towards retailers is that if there's no bottom line, there's no budget. And all the acronym fun and KPIs that you guys are talking about every day, whether that be ROAS or LTV or conversion rate, all the above. If you can't measure it, you can't support it, you can't put budget behind it. And we know how important impact is, and that in these challenging times, it's becoming even more relevant to be authentic and do it the right way. And so as we look into holiday, we want to make sure that you're set up to think about it, whether it be with us or without us, that you're thinking about impact as part of your core strategy and bringing it into your entire user experience. So first, setting the table here, there's a new generation of consumers who are buying with their values and voting with their wallets. They are micro-influencers. They're agents of change. Now more than ever, if you look at the last 3-4 months of e-commerce, how 2023 just showed up in Q2 of 2020, I have had hundreds of conversations with brands, and I know that everybody is scrambling to figure out how to give back and how to participate and have an authentic conversation with their customer. Your marketing campaigns that were slated and that were scheduled are no longer relevant. You can't be using the same content or messaging or images potentially that you were using before. And if you didn't have a core structure of giving back or impact today, you're now realizing the regulation and who do we support and how do we give back and how do we do it the right way and how do we measure it and how do we communicate to our customers. And your customer is looking for it. And we are voting with our wallets. So when we talk about this space, retailers, spending $20 billion on digital advertising alone, $239 billion in marketing, $20 billion retailers are spending on acquiring what we call generation impact. That is Gen Z and millennials, 136 million individuals who have $3 trillion in buying power. Massive group, and less than 1% of budget to date is being spent on cause marketing. And the idea of cause marketing is that you are not asking your customer to spend more of their dollars when they are already choosing to spend with you. Asking your customer to round up and add dollars onto the purchase price, as a core function of your donations, is an extremely passive way of acting as if you are creating impact. It is great to engage them, but engage them after you give and you commit as a brand and invest dollars into that relationship through giving back. So giving back, how we consider cause marketing here at Shopping Gives, it is a dollar or percentage amount of the purchase going back to the nonprofit. And we're going to get into kind of how that looks and the regulation around that. But note that it is growing massively, 15% year growth year over year. And here are the stats. Wouldn't be a good presentation if I didn't prove it with some good numbers here. But a new report here I'm just going to kind of breeze over. 83% of millennials say that it's important for companies that they buy from to align with their beliefs. That's from PRW's most recent report. But retailers are increasing their spend by 68% on millennials and 65% for Gen Z. And they are switching to more loyal to and come back more often to brands who support the causes that they care about, that are relevant and align with their values. And at Shopping Gives, we are a social impact commerce platform, and we enable brands to align with the customer's values on each purchase. And we are helping brands connect with any nonprofit, democratizing social impact. So enabling any brand of any size to give back to any nonprofit across the US, helping them grow their customer lifetime value, ultimately as a lagging KPI, and engage customers in an authentic way through our suite of cause marketing technologies. Before we jump into the 3 tactics here, I gotta set the baseline of regulation. We saw a massive rush of retailers running to create impact, which is incredible. I love it. I love that retailers are recognizing the need for this in their conversation. That is why we built this. This is what we believe in. And part of our value system here at Shopping Gives is tomorrow, today. And that means that we're building for the future and the unknowns. And what happened with COVID was, in some cliche, that the future is now. Tomorrow was today. And we ended up having a massive amount of growth, being able to support a ton of merchants coming on board and trying to figure this out. The 4 things you need to know before you start giving back. There is registration and filing requirements for what's called co-commercial venture across various states in the US. I'm going to provide a link on the next page that you guys can all access, and Derek will post it into here. But registration is required. If you are giving back a percentage of the dollar amount of the proceeds or the purchase price, that needs to go back. Transparency is key. I know everybody wants to say 10% of net proceeds because you don't want to show your double bottom line, you don't want to show your margin. It is illegal to say net proceeds or 10% of net proceeds. You need to say the exact dollar amount before the purchase and after the purchase for transparency, so the customer knows based on that purchase how much is being donated. And permissions of logos. We all built our brands. We are working hard to build our brand name. Nonprofits don't want their brand name, their logos used and promoted if you don't have compliance and you don't have permission. And there's typically minimums involved when you're doing that. And with Shopping Gives, we enable you to support any nonprofit. You have rights of use of logo and content within our platform, and then keeping your records for 7 years. Various states have different regulation. There's also bonds in various states around that. So here is the link to that page, shoppinggives.com, 4 things to know when giving back. Derek, if you can share that again for me, that would be awesome.
On it.
Thank you, buddy. All right, now for the fun stuff. Set the baseline. What you need to do before you jump into this. Again, with Shopping Gives, all 4 of these are covered. Not going to shy away from that. But the 3 power strategies for impact success and how to maximize your engagement with your customer this holiday. We have authenticity. Authenticity and making sure that the way you're communicating with your customer is true to who you are as a brand. And bringing that into your brand story, and how do you bring that into who you are and the personality as an organization. And then how do you engage your customer throughout the entire customer experience, from the moment that they come to your site to the re-engagement, to the social ads, anywhere they are, being in front of them and creating an authentic and more emotional experience with them based on who they support. And then, of course, no bottom line, no budget. So how are we measuring success with impact and giving back and growing bottom line through doing good? So authenticity. I talked about this. 83% of millennials say that it's important for the companies that they buy from to align with their values and beliefs. Making sure that alignment comes through authentically is key. And that starts with defining your values, and doing it authentically is difficult. Consumers are buying from people, but from the people behind the brand. Every brand has people behind it. And we as customers want to see who we're buying from and the story behind them. That becomes your baseline, whether it's your social media intern or your director of marketing or your logistics or whoever it may be that's making up the company, your family, your tribe, whatever you want to call them. Those people are your frontline influencers. Those people are the people who are building the brand. Share your story and ask them what's important to them. Bring them into the conversation. So sit down and say, who do we support? What is our stance? And I could only be anecdotal here of how we approached at Shopping Gives, but I have to bring up George Floyd. And when that situation took place and that catastrophe took place, it was us stopping. And that morning on Monday, we hit it on its head. And I said, it is not my decision as a CEO what we say next, because the company is not me. The company is all of us. And we all have a say right now of how we want to handle this. We can each have our own political beliefs. We can each have our own views on what was wrong and what was right and what should and shouldn't have been done. But collectively, we need to take a stance. And so we asked every person at our company to contribute to a document and say, what can we do and what can we do that's within our reach? How can we create impact and take a stance and have our voice collectively heard? And we decided as a brand, as Shopping Gives the brand, that what we could do within our reach that would enable action was to waive fees for any any retailer who was giving back to equal injustice, Black Lives Matter, any topic that we had defined a group of topics and portfolios that you could give back to. But that was within our reach. And what's within all of your reach is empowering the customer to create impact with their purchase. And that starts with your team and asking them what's important to them. Here's a great example of Kenneth Cole, who's publishing a story around what's important to them. They have a baseline of public health, civil liberties. Right now, they're giving back to mental health. If you go to kennethcole.com, you can see from the homepage on their site, they're talking about impact. And this type of page enables you from of course, the value of marketing SEO perspective, when you're building out campaigns around impact throughout the holiday, adding that content to here, when you have activations with influencers or your employees, being able to say, here's who they support and here's who we support, and bring that all comprehensively together as a content hub when you think about building out your content strategy. But this is the baseline of your impact so that when things happen, like COVID, like Black Lives Matter and George Floyd and and racial injustice and fires and ongoing things that happen, and you want to partake in those and have it be authentic, pointing back to the impact that you're already doing and your story and what you stand for and who's part of the business makes it that much easier to broach the topic in an authentic way. Like Kenneth Cole here, Anatomy here, talking about who they're giving back to as part of Feeding America for Giving Tuesday Now, that happened right after COVID. They're talking about that. They already have this on their site. They're talking about their impact. They consistently are talking about what's important to them, putting messages out. And so when they add this into the conversation, it's natural. Now, what I love is how do we engage the customer into this journey and bring them into the conversation? Omnichannel. So for context here, I have 13 years of digital marketing background experience. I managed hundreds of millions of dollars of budget for some top IR 100 brands. And I always a goal of how do we create, and I give homage to my past agencies that I worked with, of how do we create a more relevant experience for customers and better allocate budget using data? And I append that with impact data. And we have the ability with Shopping Gives, and even on your own, having these insights to incorporate impact into the entire funnel, branded to re-engagement on how we talk about impact. So first is educating your customer testing the various marketing channels, and then prioritizing remarketing and personalization. So first up, we have educating your customer. And we have holiday examples here from last year that I'm bringing up. We have Koyo, who's doing Souls for Souls. They were getting 5% back. This was an email example of you shop, you choose, we donate. Everyday California, they are part of 1% for the Planet, and they incorporate other 1% for the Planet approved nonprofits into their selection experience. If you go to Everyday California and you go to one of their product pages, you'll see that they're defaulting at all times. But as part of this campaign for the holiday, the deals that give back, so when you think about Cyber Monday leading up to Giving Tuesday, how you can incorporate a campaign of the Giving Week, for example, with Cobelli. So having a week of giving leading up to Giving Tuesday as a culmination and stacking impact with promotions. Especially when you think about this idea of what we call cognitive consonance versus passive consonance, is a consumer who's saying, this is what I care about, passively by raising their hand on social and saying, I like Feeding America. But when you engage them with that message about support Feeding America and showing that point of purchase that it's giving back to them, plus that same product that is competitively maybe priced between you and a competitor, that you're the one giving back, the customer will choose you. Educating and homepage call out. Very excited to talk later with Sarah. Sarah is the founder and CEO of, co-founder of Amargo, and we will be talking with her in just a moment, but they are an incredible partner of ours. Margo did a beautiful example of how to incorporate this the moment the customer comes onto the homepage. So on Giving Tuesday, we give back. They're giving 5% to the Lower East Side Girls Club. And they have some very unique activations that I'm excited to share, but that was one example. Here's another partner of ours, Notori. They're on BigCommerce, and celebrate Giving Tuesday with us, 5% to the charity of your choice. And another example is today, Kenneth Cole, you shop, we donate to the Mental Health Coalition. Now with Shopping Gives, this is aligning each purchase with your customer's value. So here's JR Dunn. They're on Magento, and they're enabling their customers to select their cause of choice. You can see here that we play well with other add-ons. So if you have an Affirm, an Afterpay, a Zazzle, Klarna, we work well with them. We typically sit either above or below the add to cart. This experience is completely customizable to fit your brand, your style, however you want that to look. Under our enterprise packages, under Impact Plus or Partner, we can customize this language for you, but you have full control over those nonprofits. And as part of Shopping Gives, over 1.5 million nonprofits, any 501c3 that's in good standing in the IRS, you can enable your customer to search and support. And now what that does when I select a nonprofit, let's say I select Feeding America here, that's going to live on my customer profile. And now you can re-engage me about who I care about, one-to-one personalized. So let me show you what that looks like in just a moment, how we're going to pull that data back in, cross-channel for testing. So test your messaging on site. I'm going to go back here real quickly. Google Optimizer's free. Test these eyebrows on homepage banners. Test the messaging to engage that customer and inform them, and see how that is driving conversion rate lift and AOV lift by driving these different types of message throughout the user experience. Now, testing cross-channel marketing. So we have engage your audience versus social share via social sharing. So on your stories, on your Instagram, your Facebook, Twitter, so on. You know the social channels. I don't need to tell you that, but including that impact message in to your broad messaging, your channel marketing, and then imagine when you have that impact page on your website, and you've just shared that Derek, my social media manager, cares about Humane Society, and now you bring that part of that story to your social and talk about Derek as your employee, and here's who he is, and support who Derek supports, because this is who makes up our company. That's what makes it authentic, is bringing your people and a consistent message from your site to your social, and testing these strategies across, whether it be your stories and so on. Now, this is something that we love. This is like one of our favorite tactics here, is personalization through influencers, is enabling your influencers to support a cause of their choice. So the affinities of your influencers are going to match their followers. And the cost of influencer and the message is a growing challenge. And as brands, we talk, we work with brands, we talk as a brand, we talk with influencers, and of course there's micro influencers, but enabling that influencer and saying to them, as part of this campaign, we're going to let you choose your favorite cause. And then what we have with our technology is a link that updates that nonprofit to match the nonprofit that the influencer chose. So you give them a swipe up link or share this link, and automatically that nonprofit will match when the customer gets on site to whatever nonprofit. So if it was Trevor Project in this example, Trevor Project will show on site for, within that experience. And this is where that link comes in again. Is example with Klaviyo is based on who your customer supported last time, whether that be a dormant customer email, a cart abandonment email, pulling back that data one-to-one basis to create one-to-one engagement with your customer and what's important to them. These types of emails crush it. And then how do we create the segmentation and testing these segmentations? So you could look at it and say, what audiences do we believe resonate? So you could use something like Google Audience Insights. Very simple tool to, if you have enough of a following, to look at and say who follows us and what other causes or affinities do they have. And then you could use that tool to identify how large of an audience segment that is. So let's say we are supporting Feeding America, One Tree Planted, and Greenway Foundation. Huge followings. Have your creative match that on social, on display, wherever, when you're targeting those segments. And then have your on-site match that experience when they get there, matching the same creative, the same message, and the same nonprofit. And then with Shopping Gives, you can actually preset that nonprofit again to match that creative and that segmentation. And we are showing these massive commercial outcomes, ultimately higher conversion rate lift, higher AOV, and ultimately higher lifetime value through impact and giving back and aligning with customer journey. And that brings me to how are we measuring that? Measuring your impact first and foremost for your customer. Bringing the impact is part of that story. Here's an example of talking about the good that you're doing. Show, this is Succulent Box showing how much they had raised for last year's holiday, coming out of last year for One Tree Planted. And then they did COVID. They had a whole other page for how much they were fighting for COVID and how much they were raising. This is an incredibly meaningful conversation to have. And you're doing good. It's okay to talk about that impact. And it's okay to bring that into your story. And we have some great examples that we could share here after. And if you want to hit us up after, I could share some links with you on partners who are doing this really, really well. But here's two examples is Succulent Box on how they're showing and highlighting their impact here. But now measuring that impact back to your bottom line. We have a term called RODS, and that is return on donation spend, similar to ROAS, return on ad spend. For every dollar donated, here is that return on donation. And we could do that through integrations where we pass back data into your analytics, where we're saying when customers engage, how does conversion rate increase? How does AOV increase? Bounce rate decreasing, the revenue, the page sessions. And we can look at that as a fully attributed revenue. If you have attribution set up, we could say we're in the behavioral flow. Is the customer coming in and engaging with impact? And then how is that driving conversion rate lift? And then in our dashboards, we are also showing AOV lift and activation rate lift, and you have full control over that in our platform. Quick note on us is we are an end-to-end donation e-commerce integrated platform for e-commerce stores. So it's your site, your style. We manage all of compliance and regulation for retailers of any size at scale. So tens of thousands of dollars that you need to spend in registration. If you want to give back tomorrow to any nonprofit, whether that be COVID related or anything else, there's a lot of great initiatives, a lot of great nonprofits. We could help you identify who they are. We could get you live in 30 minutes or less if you're on Shopify. Example of Kenneth Cole, 48 hours live on Salesforce, and you get all that data and insights back to drive and fuel, again, a more personalized experience for your customers and better allocation of budget and optimizing the conversations with your customers with impact data. We have incredible partners that we're working with. We're leading the way in terms of D2C. You may know brands like Notori, Kenneth Cole, Neighborhood Goods, Margo, who we'll talk to next, Fresh Clean Teas, some incredible partners. Go and check them out, buy from them. They're all doing amazing things here. And if you want to follow us, hit us up at shoppinggives.com, at shoppinggives, and send us a note at hello@shoppinggives.com. And I'm super excited to introduce and answer any questions you have, but then talk with Sarah here, one of our amazing partners from Margo.